Once again, crypto markets saw an extremely crazy weekend that brought a lot of chaos to the markets. Then we opened up this morning with a lot of people worried that today would be another Black Monday. However, after opening lower in the stock market and after crypto took a bath last night, we've seen a little bit of a rebound this morning. But that then leads us to this question. Does that mean the bottom is in? We hit a lot of support levels that we've highlighted on this show for a number of weeks. Is the bottom in? Or is this just another bull trap? Do you need to continue to lock in your seatbelt for rough roads ahead? We're going to cover a whole lot of information coming out with tariffs. It seems like every hour a brand new twist happens on these tariffs. The tariffs giveth and the tariffs taketh away. That's what's happening right now. We're going to cover what you should be expecting to happen next. Also, Larry Fink spoke today and had some very confusing yet important topics he discussed that affect the markets heavily. You do not want to miss a single second of today's show. If you're a friend of the channel, please go ahead and smash that like button right now. And if you're new here, thank you so much for joining in to the Investing Bros live show. We're going to have a lot of fun. But first, before we get into all those details, we got an intro to play. Welcome on in, everybody. Sorry, I'm tired, guys. In this moving grind, it's a doozy. For those who don't know, I'm moving to Florida here, packing up the truck tomorrow, getting down there. I'll be back on the show Friday, but we'll talk more about the schedule for the rest of the week. How about these markets, boys? How fun is this? Also, one of the three of us is not like the other. What's wrong with us? Smay, how you doing today?
I'm doing swell, Tim. I'm sick, and that
you
part
are a little
sucks.
sick,
but
yeah. You know, Smay, someone said in the comment section a couple of shows ago, they said Tim's always mean to Smay, and I love it, which I thought was mean. And if I'm mean to you, Smay, I apologize. I told them in the comments the reason why it seems like we're mean is because we're brothers who just don't share DNA. But I love my some Smay. And I don't like hearing Smay sick. Get better, Smay. Tshroom, how you doing, my friend?
I am better than I deserve, Tim. I'm excited for this evening where the Gators take on the Houston mascots. I'm very excited. I really hope that the Gators pull out the dub.
I think they're Tigers.
Because I am a Gator fan and I don't have any Gator paraphernalia right here. But if I did, I would bring it on screen.
There we go. There we go. Well, everybody, we got a lot to break into. We're going to start off a little different. Before we get into the headline news, let's take a quick look at what the price action has been doing here. Go ahead and go to my screen. Smay, we're going to get into the details of the technicals here later, but remember that 74K we've been talking about for a while? Well, we did hit the exact upper range of the 2 weekly smart trail. We'll talk more about this a little bit later. Does that mean the bottom's in? Cannot say that for certain, but technically speaking, that 2 weekly smart trail we have been calling for a pullback to, it did get hit today. After that, then Bitcoin shot back up this morning, back above $81,000, where even though I didn't enter my short, I told you guys the 81 should be strong resistance. Sure enough, Bitcoin right now hovering in that world of 78,500. How will today close? At the moment, that's quite the doji candle right there. It is not very clear. What about that S&P 500? The S&P 500, after closing Friday at a very significant support level all the way down here at 5,073, it opened today extremely low down here towards 4,950. I told everyone this morning when we had our morning live show doing some live trading, I said, don't be surprised to see it come down and kiss this 4,800. Sure enough, that's exactly what we did. We shot up all the way as high as 5,200. Now, again, we've camped out back down here towards 5,000. That's going to be another one that's very interesting to watch how it is playing out. Some other ones that I'm keeping an eye on here. Bitcoin Dominance today wicked all the way up to 64%. It has come back down. Again, we're working on a very large wick at the moment. But you guys know we predicted that Bitcoin Dominance could get back up to 64. The fact is, where the markets are right now, I would not be surprised in the least to see this one keep going to the upside. But those are some of the big chart movements. We'll look at more later on in the show. Some other big important details to be aware of. I expected this number to be a lot lower. Last night, Bitcoin Fear and Greed did tick its way back down into extreme fear, but only reached 23. Part of me kind of hoped it was going to get back below 20. It did not get there. It's at 23 right now. So yes, we're in extreme fear, but kind of just barely. It isn't necessarily where you want to be overall. The crypto overall fear and greed at 17. This is another one I really would love to see it get back down below 10 before I would feel long-term bullish again that the fear is back completely. So keep an eye on that one. This is going to be a big discussion here today as we look at predictions. This chart has gone all over the place today. At one point today, there's a more than a 50% chance of a May rate cut. We'll talk more about that because there was an emergency meeting today from the Fed. Clearly, whatever they discussed is making the CME futures tool predict that we don't need to cut rates in May, but it is looking like June is still the heavy favorite for the first rate cut in 2025. And the last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to throw it over to Tshroom to talk about some news that's very important, is this week. While today we didn't really see anything majorly important, later this week could get very important economic details and numbers, as we will on Thursday see inflation, core inflation, CPI, jobless claims, and then on Friday, we will see the PPI numbers come out as well. How are they going to respond now? Will we see any numbers shifted with the tariffs, or will these be strong? And how will the Fed react to that? They will have a meeting this Wednesday where they'll be giving us some thoughts a little bit later on. That's the big data that you need to be paying attention to this week. That's the charts at the moment. We're going to get back into them here in a couple of minutes. But let's go over to Tshroom and let's get into the conversation of what is going on right now, starting off with the end-all be-all right now that's controlling the markets as a whole, tariff updates. What is happening with tariffs? I feel like we might see breaking news about tariffs while we're live here on the show. It changes what seems like every single hour, but up to date right now, Tshroom, what are the big details affecting tariffs this weekend and so far on this fun Monday, I'm going to call it? What's the news on the tariff front today?
Absolutely. Well, up until now, we have cracked open the book of American tariffs. The first chapter was Canada and Mexico. The second chapter, if you go to my screen, is now the EU and China. We'll start with the China headline here. Our president says the U.S. will impose additional tariffs of 50% on China if they fail to withdraw the 34% retaliatory tariff they issued yesterday, April 6th. Meanwhile, over in the EU, you get this headline. European Union says they are ready to negotiate tariffs with the United States, but there's been an update since I tweeted this out at 9 a.m. this morning. The EU proposes a 25% tariff on U.S. goods. Manolet said they blinked. That's exactly right. There were more details, but now those are useless details because the fact of the matter is 25% tariffs are now being discussed from the EU. So that is the current status of tariffs. It's not about Canada and Mexico anymore. It's about China and the EU going forward. Tim, tell me what you're thinking about this. What is this chapter 2 telling you?
Yeah, it's a little bit bipolar, what we're getting out of Europe today. Again, the day started with them kind of coming to the table saying, hey, we're willing to discuss 0%. I don't know if there was a conversation that happened with maybe someone here in the United States that they didn't like that conversation. They went back to the drawing board and said 25. That seems fast. I don't think we really know what's happening in Europe right now. I don't think Europe knows what's happening right now. And while I'm not going to get too political here, I did put out a tweet earlier, and again, this doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. These are genuine concerns that Europe needs to take into hand. Whether you like it or not, if Europe follows through on this 25% tariff increase, Trump's not going to blink. America's not going to blink. They're going to go right back, and they're going to increase it even more. Can Europe sustain that? Because I feel like Europe gets a lot more from coming from American goods going to them than we necessarily will get. We get more from Europe. I've said that backwards. We get more from Europe than they're taking from us. So is that really going to work out well? The other thing that they really need to be prepared for, and I'm not going to even say whether this is a good thing or bad thing, it is a shocking thing. But if this doesn't go well, if this pisses American leaders off, for lack of a better way to put it, is Europe prepared for the United States to leave NATO? Will they survive that? They got a lot of fears about what's happening on the other side of the country, and they have the backing right now of the most powerful and richest military in the world in the United States. Are they prepared for this trade war to cause the Americans to pull out of that historical deal? Again, I'm not saying is that good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that is probably on the table with this discussion. things are probably going to get a lot uglier before they get a lot better. I do still have hope that things are going to be fixed out. The negotiations will happen, but we're going to find out who's willing, who's going to stick to their guns, who's going to puff their chest, and who's going to back down here. The odds of that being Trump in the United States probably pretty slim. So I'm interested to see how this unfolds. On the other front, when it comes to China, I mean, you saw the reports from this morning. We talked about it in our live show. China calling these Trump tariffs bullying, and the reality is they're not wrong. Like that is a good way of putting it. I don't think there's even a sugarcoat there. It is kind of bullying. Again, whether you like that bullying, whether you dislike that bullying, yes. The United States has vocalized to the world that they're tired of being the punching bag, the pocketbook for everybody else's things. They're tired of what they feel is being mistreated in different trade deals. So there's a little bit of bullying going on. There's a little bit of you're going to benefit us instead of us benefiting you. And that's going to cause a big problem in the global economy. And we were watching today. I mean, everyone's paying attention to U.S. Economics and the stock market crashing. I don't think there's a large country out there that doesn't have a crashing stock market today. Everybody is imploding right now. So once again, on both the European front and the China front, heads are knocking, right? People are disagreeing. At some point, someone's going to have to back down. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that Trump and the Americans back down to anyone? Or do you think it's going to be other countries backing down, or do we sustain a longer-term trade war? By the way, another thing to think about, if I'm China and I'm looking at this relationship, even though I import a lot of things in the United States, we make a joke in the United States that we just buy everything from China. There are other countries that can make goods and services. There are also other countries that the Americans are in talks with right now, negotiating some certain deals with tariffs. Is there potentially a risk to China's production where whether jobs come to America or go to these other countries who are playing ball with the United States, could we see a massive swing away from American companies buying Chinese goods and services due to all these tariffs? Again, there's so much that's going to unfold over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, next couple of months. So it's too early to say we know for certain what's happening, but you do need to start thinking about down the road. How do you effectively manage a long-term trade war with Europe, manage a long-term trade war with Asia? Are there solutions? Who gets the blackest eye in those fights? These are all the things that are going to be in question for the next couple of weeks and months. And ultimately, I want to make sure you guys are aware of this. I'm going to throw it back to Tshroom here in a second, get more news. This chaos, whether you like it or love it or dislike it, I guess that's like it or love it are kind of the same. Whether you like it, love it, or hate it, do not expect new all-time highs until some of this certainty is dealt with, right? We can see dead cat bounces. We can see moves back up. I think there's a chance Bitcoin could even make its way back up to 90K still. I don't see new highs or sustained bullish moves until there's more certainty when it comes to these tariff wars. Doesn't mean new lows come. We could end up just trading sideways while we wait for everything to sort itself out. But I do want to warn everybody, be prepared for probably best case scenario, sideways choppy movement. Worst case scenario, newer lows still on the way because of the tariff uncertainty. The good side is, though, the silver lining, all of the negativity in the markets right now are because of the tariffs. So that means if we do come to conclusions at some point in the near future, the markets could be on their way to skyrocketing once again. We just need some certainty when it comes to the tariffs. We need some certainty when it comes to Fed policy about QE. Once we get that certainty, there's still a lot of signs these markets are ready for bull markets to come later on in the year 2025 or early 2026. Tshroom, though, that's kind of the end of what I think about the tariff news. There was a fake headline put out today. We want to address, make sure people are aware of that. And then let's get into some talk that Larry Fink said today that's very intriguing about what he sees the economy and the markets doing here in the near future.
Absolutely. And just before we leave tariffs, Tom Riddell said that he's an economist and he'd love to educate us on tariffs. So Tom Riddell, go ahead and let us know in the chat. Educate us on tariffs. Go for it. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into the BlackRock news right after we address a bit of fake news that got spread this morning. This headline, no one at the White House is aware of a 90-day tariff pause, came in to kind of cure a viral headline that had circulated around saying the opposite, saying that a 90-day pause on all tariffs had been instituted. That was, I don't think we got to the bottom of what the origin was. By the way, you might be wondering what's up with Mike Wazowski here. It's just a bruh meme. That was what that was, because it was a bruh moment. Yeah, Tim, what did you think about when you saw this headline? Well, you were live, so everybody got to see your live reaction to this headline. You didn't know at the time, you couldn't have known at the time that it
Big
was
spike.
fake news, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin went from like 78.4 to almost 80. Like it went above 81,000 in about 5 to 10 minutes time span right after that news came out, right? So a lot of people bought it. I think what I heard reading about it, Reuters put it out there, CNBC put it out there. So we're not talking about a headline that just a bunch of X accounts picked up on and spread out there. Mainstream media picked up on it as well. Whatever this rumor was legit enough that more reputable companies, and I say reputable very lightly here when I'm talking about mainstream media, I'm talking about companies that aren't necessarily known to put out things that are just blatantly false, right? They can twist details, they can do things, but Reuters, they might put out opinion pieces you disagree with, but usually when they put out a detail like it's a fact, it's rare that it's not a fact, right? So there's speculation, Tshroom, and we're not going to go too far into this because it is speculation. I don't want anyone to walk away from here saying that Tim or Tshroom said this is the case, but there is speculation that potentially this was a planned leak. This is a purposeful tactic that might actually be coming. That the team from the White House, they actually wanted it to be leaked and then they wanted to deny it, but maybe this is something they're thinking about doing in the next couple of weeks. So be prepared, again, for more chaos and uncertainty, but a lot of things coming at us right now for the information of the tariffs. And unfortunately, we just don't know the real details just yet. That is the fun part of being in the markets every single day and watching the price react to these up and down movements, these bearish and bullish tariff announcements. It's all part of the daily grind here when you're trading the markets. With that said, let's go to a person who trades the markets quite a lot and whose voice, whether you trust him or not, does carry a massive impact on how people perceive what's about to happen next. That man is the CEO of BlackRock. His name is Larry Fink, and he spoke today. I can't remember what event he spoke at, but Tshroom's going to tell us. He said a lot of really big things that have some pretty big consequences for the markets. Tshroom, what's Larry Fink telling us today?
Absolutely, Tim. Well, he spoke at the Economic Club of New York, a city in the great American state of New York. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink on the market and economy. He said a couple of different things. So stick with us here. This is thick. He sees zero chance of 4 or 5 Fed rate cuts this year. He believes a potential rate increase is still on the table. That's a little shocking. He warns that the White House action could be far more inflationary than markets expect. And he says he wouldn't rule out another 20% market drop. Each one of these, very bearish. But it doesn't stop there. Nevertheless, Fink reviewed his economic slump as more of a chance to buy than to sell. That's the one silver lining bullish comment he throws out there, which kind of makes the whole thing confusing. But he also said we're probably in a recession right now. So those were the statements. Those were the summarizing, meaningful statements from his press briefing there at the Economic Club of New York. Some contradicting statements, some very extreme statements in the sense of saying that we could see another rate hike in 2025. Tim, what was your main takeaway here from the Sphinkster?
Very all over the place, right? The first thing that came out that people were posting about was him saying that might be a good buy spot. Of course, people are going to run with that. I remember being on the phone with you, Tshroom. We were talking this morning when that announcement came out before the other ones came out. And I told you when it happened, I said, even though I'm not tracking Larry Fink as being a Jamie Dimon-esque figure who he says one thing and is doing the complete others, like I haven't at this time seen a correlation between Larry Fink saying go buy and then the markets tank, or him saying, hey, I got some concern and the market's rallying, right? So I don't want to say that he's a misdirecting figure. At the same time, he's a CEO of a company that we know takes advantage of the retail investors' issues, right? They swoop in and buy property really cheap. They're making it very hard for the average individual to own homes. We know they took advantage of what was happening over in Ukraine, where the war is going on. There's a lot of chaos happening. They scoop in. They're buying property for pennies on the dollar. We talk about BlackRock kind of out of both sides of our mouth here. Everyone loves that BlackRock is pro crypto, pro Bitcoin, pro, real world assets, right? That's going to be good and bullish for my bags long term. That doesn't mean that I trust BlackRock, that I'm best friends with them, that I'm not aware that they definitely can work in my disadvantage at times. So I told Tshroom here when this news came out, I said, you know what? I'm not going to treat this like a reverse Kramer type of thing. Oh, if he's bullish, I'm bearish. But I'm not going to make my investment advice. I'm not going to buy because Larry Fink says it's a good time to buy. I'm also not going to sell when he says it's a good time to sell. And then coincidentally, just a couple minutes later, all the negative headlines came out. He starts saying, it looks like we're in a recession. Almost every CEO I'm talking to right now believes we're in a recession. He said, there's a 0% chance of 4 to 5 interest rate cuts. CME Futures is not saying that, but we know that can go all over the place. He's saying there's a chance of a rate hike. Just a lot of things that then after saying this is a good time to buy, everything else out of his mouth was this is a good time to sell. So I'm going to tell you guys what I told Tshroom. Whether he's bullish or bearish, I think it's important to be aware of what Larry Fink says because there are people out there who take his advice and they run with it. But I just want to make sure you guys are aware, in case you weren't, BlackRock is not your friend. BlackRock absolutely can and will do things in opportune moments so that they gain wealth and you don't, right? Again, that doesn't mean that we treat Larry Fink's words as a reverse indicator. That's not my take here. My real take is listen to Larry Fink, process what he's saying. Don't make decisions based off it, but take into account when you're taking in all of the other details that are being thrown at you on the charts, in the news. For example, we showed it earlier, but let's go back to it. He says no chance, 0% chance of 4 to 5 interest rate cuts by the end of the year. Just so you guys are aware here on the FedWatch Tool, which is the tool I like to use to understand where people think things are going, they would disagree with Fink, right? In fact, they're saying 36.7% chance of 4, 22.9% chance of 5, and a 5% chance of 6 cuts, right? So you add all this up, let's go 37 plus 20, we'll go 36 plus 22. All right, so that's going to be what? 58 plus 5, so 63% chance. CME Futures is saying there's a 63% chance we get at least 4 rate cuts this year. Larry Fink is saying 0% chance. Again, the big one here today, and this is moving as we're talking right now. Earlier today, this is the May prediction right here. Currently, 60% saying we're going to stay paused, 40% saying we're going to get rate cut in May. Earlier today, 25 basis point cut rose above 50. I think it went to like 53%. So we're not talking about like it went up to like 70, 80, 90% or anything, but we are sitting here saying this is getting close. There are people beginning to believe that May is potentially a rate cut month if the data point comes out well. Of course, it's going to go back to the economic data. If inflation numbers are out of control, I don't see Jerome Powell saying we're going to cut rates with inflation going out of control. But if these inflation numbers come in good, right? So let's think about it. The expectation is they're going to come in at 3%, down from last month's 3.1%. If the CPI numbers come in good, if the PPI numbers on Friday come in favorable, do we see pressure on Jerome Powell? And we got to remember this. We always say Jerome Powell because he's the spokesperson. He's the chairman. He's not the only person that decides, right? There's, 9? Tshroom, correct me on this. Are there 9 chairmen? Are there 9 people that vote in the Fed on whether or not to cut rates or not? Do you know the answer to that off the top of your head?
Let's see. 12 members of the FOMC.
12 members. I don't know where I was getting 9 from. Okay, so it's Jerome Powell and then 11 other humans get together, not quite monthly, but almost monthly, and decide based off the data, based off the projections, what do they want to do with rate cuts, okay? Larry Fink's out here saying 0% chance of 4 to 5, which is what CME thinks is going to happen, but there's a chance at a rate hike. I'm not seeing that, but I don't know what happens in these closed-door meetings. We know they had, again, let's call it impromptu meeting today, right? People are putting out emergency. Impromptu meeting, just because how do you not meet when you see world markets crash like they did over the weekend and then early this morning? It would be irresponsible of the Fed not to have a meeting. It was in no means a guarantee that they're going to cut rates, which is what some people think they could have done like they did back in 2020, reacting to COVID. There was never a guarantee that they were going to cut rates. But the fact that they're even meeting about it, they weren't meeting about raising rates. Let's be very clear. They were not meeting this morning about raising rates. The only question on that table is, hey guys, anything change? Should we cut rates here? Like that was the conversation. My guess is they're going to say, let's hold off. Let's at least wait until Thursday, Friday and get the new CPI and PPI numbers, right? That's just probably a wise move. But it is starting to let us lean into that potential that rate cuts could come sooner than later. And again, Larry Fink, I don't know what game he's playing. All I know is I'm not going to take his words blindly and let that be the main decision maker of whether I'm buying or whether I'm selling. And the reality is he was very confusing. What he says he's buying, but then he says we're in a recession and things could get a whole lot worse. I don't even know what Larry Fink was trying to get at. Tshroom, before I get into the charts and we take a look at what the price is actually doing, any closing thoughts from you about this Larry Fink tariff shabacle that's continuing to go on? Any insights you want to give the people before we move on?
Yeah, well, in addition to what we've heard from BlackRock today, we've been kind of getting inch by inch guidance from JP Morgan, which was saying at one point, there's a 65% chance of a recession. Now they're saying that they're expecting a recession. Well, I tweeted out this morning the following. I said, if JP Morgan and the rest of Wall Street really feared a recession, do you think they would be spreading fear right now? Or would they be as bullish as possible? Truth is, they are trying to push prices as low as possible because they know this is not 2009 and this is not COVID. It's not a pandemic, right? Just to expand on that a little bit, my thoughts here are that it is completely aligned with their interests for price discovery to the downside to continue. Why? Well, the easy answer is so that they can buy lower, right? But it also gives them data on just how much retail is in the equities market, is in the crypto market, is in bonds. Then they thrive on data, right? Information is power, knowledge is power. But obviously, they just want to buy low, right? And the dangerous thing here is that playing with this kind of fire could be very scary if something did break in the global economy, right? Because what would happen? What would be the safety net there? But that's a discussion for another time. I'm convinced here that if JP Morgan, if BlackRock, if they were truly thinking that a recession was coming and that things were going to get really bad, they would be trying to pump the market and sell you their assets and say, hey, this is the greatest time to buy the dip. They're doing the opposite. They're saying, ooh, a big scary recession's coming. So they want you to sell so that they can buy lower. Tale as old as time. That's kind of my thought on it all.
There we go. Well, let's get this. Let's get into the charts and let's take a look at what's happening here. Let's start off with the S&P 500. We looked at it earlier. We hit a major level of support that I did not think was going to happen this soon. But we are here now, right? This morning, after opening up extremely low, we did crash all the way down to 48.40. That's 4,840 here. Zone of support, a former high from back in January of 2022. It also, I'm not going to say guaranteed is the bottom, but it did get the S&P 500 to that so talked about 20% dip. In fact, this morning at one point, S&P 500 was down 21.4% from recent highs back here in February. So, stock market, bleeding. Now, we opened up two different gaps here. Let's see, what is this? Friday morning, we opened up and put in a huge gap here, all the way back up towards 53.90. I told you guys, I thought there was a chance we were going to bounce here and then make our way back up. Of course, that was before the Black Monday came in and pushed things down. After that, we opened up. I saw the pre-market loading. I told everyone this morning, hey, don't be surprised for us to go ahead and make this move to 4,800. The problem was we also had created a nice little gap right here. Well, today we've already cleared up that gap for sure. We've tested this lower level that was major support. We're down 20%. I would not be surprised at all. And this is where we get into the details of the what ifs and the if then statements. I would not be surprised at all for the markets if nothing crazy, terrible happens. Now, I say this again, just pretty much an hour before the live show. Europe went berserk on us again, threatening 25%, or saying they're thinking about 25% tariffs. That could change everything. But if we can maintain and get a little stability, dead cat bounce at worst, we could easily see the S&P 500 just bounce back up here to hit what used to be support, turn it back into resistance here in the world of $5,400, right? So drew that kind of poorly there. I would not be surprised by this at all. In fact, again, I would venture to say if nothing comes out of left field and we can calm all the crazy conversations. I'm not even saying we need good news, right? I'm not saying we need to see we just need no new information to come out. And I think it would be very reasonable for the markets to clean up some blood and then make its way back down if more bad news were to come down the road. I'm not guaranteeing that the bottom is in. I am saying that this was a major level of support, and the speed by which we got here would would constitute a decent little bounce back to the upside. Okay. So not predicting new highs, predicting a dead cat bounce if all things stay the same. If we break back above this level, we start to make a move back up towards 55, now we can start talking about the conversation of making our way back up towards key resistance levels like 5,800, and then after that, we can go a little bit higher here. We're not seeing necessarily any major buy signal on the daily chart from Luxalgo or from any of the oscillators, but you do see the RSI at the lowest place we've seen the RSI on the daily chart. Let's actually go back and look. I didn't look at this earlier. When was the last time the RSI was this low on the weekly chart? We got very close in January of 2022, but even that is not, I'm going to put a line here so you guys can see just how low we got today. We reached all the way down to 22. 22. Let's make that line thinner. That's way too thick. 22 on the RSI. The last time we got there, you have to go back to, oh my goodness, March of 2020. History lessons, ladies and gentlemen. Before I show you on the charts, do you guys know what happened in March of 2020? That, my friends, would be the great crash of COVID, where we did fall very quickly, down 35% within just a short couple of days before V-bottoming and then shooting back to the upside. Does that mean that's what's happening here? That's not what it means. I'm just trying to tell you we are not this overexposed on the RSI, on the S&P 500 very often. And the few times it does get there, let's think through March and February of 2020. Let's think these times back here, December of 18, there's a major bottom. We had it happen here October 18. That one was not a bottom, right? So if we have a similar move to that, this bleeding could continue. We could also go back here to this date back here in August of 2015. That was a local bottom, right? So again, nothing is guaranteed, but more often than not, being this low on the RSI does suggest a local bottom on the S&P 500. Where are my targets to the upside? Again, I'm not going to get greedy. I'm not going to get crazy. I think we need to see clarity in the tariff front before we talk about new highs. But I do think a bounce back up towards 5,400 could be on the table here for the S&P 500. Short-term bounce on some of those stocks. Before I move on, I wanted to take a look and show you guys a stock that we talked about the other day, Ford, holding up pretty nicely compared to the rest of the space. Again, it kind of just came back down to these lows from March 5th, but we told you guys down here towards $9 to be a juicy Ford opportunity. Did anyone buy? Anyone ready to buy? I mean, it's holding up support better than almost anything else in the stock market right now. Ford, who's buying? Let's go check a look at the Bitcoin charts and take a look what's happening there. We talked about it earlier. Bitcoin dominance did shoot up to 64% today. Has a long upper wick. Some people are saying that's the top. I'm not ready to say it's top. It could have been, but I'm not ready to say the top of the Bitcoin dominance is in. Again, let's get some clarity about tariffs. Let's see risk on assets become buyable again. Then we can talk about altcoins outpacing Bitcoin. But for now, don't read too much into the fact that we are pulled back from 64%. We're still very high, and I think we have higher to go. When I take a look at the Bitcoin chart, like we said, for weeks, and we were called crazy for it, which is really funny, the things that we get called crazy for, Tshroom, when you think about it. We get accused of being perma bulls. We get accused of being too bearish. People get accused of being confusing. We told you guys there was daily and two-day buy signals that could have sent us back anywhere between $88,000 to $90,000. But we always told you, take 2 weekly chart, ladies and gentlemen. We got this sell signal here weeks ago, and the target is at least down here to 74.4. We could come all the way down to 66. Either way, we need to hit that level. Sure enough, that is where we got last night. I'm not certain the bottom is in, but I did buy. I did buy some Bitcoin. Let me know in the comments, did you guys buy and scoop up any crypto yourself? Since then, again, after bouncing back up to a former very significant former support level, now turned into resistance 81,200, we hit that, and we're trying to decide on lower time frames for Bitcoin. Do we want to keep going to the upside? Do we want to stop this? Right now, we are on the precipice of a 4-hour buy signal, ladies and gentlemen. Green reversal, bullish momentum, that money flow in that bubble getting very close to breaking right there. If it does, don't be surprised to see Bitcoin start to make its way back up here towards resistance, around 84.3, give or take. If you're wondering what that resistance is, that is that long-term resistance of a falling wedge. It is a long-term bullish formation, but it is one that's right now keeping us to the downside. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, this is where things are going to get very messy with the Bitcoin charts, because technically speaking, right? Technically speaking, this 2-weekly sell signal, which was my largest technical bearish indicator at the moment, has hit what could have been the bottom, right? I can now say, last week I was not telling you the bottom was in. Today, I don't know, right? This technically could be the bottom. With us hitting this 2 weekly sell, breakout prediction, with us hitting the beginning of the net, it could have been the bottom. I can't tell you 100% it's not the bottom. I have a sneaky suspicion it's not the bottom, right? I think we're going to have a fake out here where we do pump back up here towards 84, maybe 85. It's still on the table to pump all the way to 90K and not be out of the mess that we're in for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. That being said, I would probably put more money on a rejection here around 84.5 than I would 90K. I would still be putting a bottom level somewhere in the world down here towards 72. Maybe we leak a little bit lower than that, come down towards 71, 70,000. But the reality is this zone that we got the top of, I think that's a decent chance that we make a move one more time down here and touch this green line of support in the falling wedge pattern. If we get a sustained bounce here, like let's pretend we do get this move towards 84, 84.6, or that's 83.6, excuse me. I don't know. Anyway, let's say we get this move back down here towards 72. We touch this green line and then get a sustained bounce. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but at that point, I would start to ask the question, can we get the bullish breakout of this falling wedge pattern? That breakout would be something in the world of this move that would put us back above 100K. You guys know my level. I've been saying this for weeks. I've been saying, when will Tim get macro bullish again? I'm bullish about a bull market. When will Tim get excited about the intermediate time frame and say the bull market absolutely is back on? I need to see us get back above six figures. Well, this breakout of a falling wedge pattern could do that and get the wheels going. After that, we have new all-time highs coming and so on and so forth. With that said, I don't see any of that happening before we have more clarity on what the future of tariff relationships look like, and probably a little bit of QE conversation in there as well. If you guys want to know more about what's happening in the charts, the best place to be is in our VIP trading group. I'm going to be still bringing you guys charts here live every single day for a while. But if you want to do more with your favorite coins, if you want to take a look at some big details and know where to buy and where to sell with some of your favorite assets, if you want to learn how to do technical analysis, go check out that VIP trading group. We are in there all the time. There's so many amazing pro traders in there. It's not just me. It's not just Tshroom. There's a world of knowledge in there that you want to get to today. And by the way, you join that Pro Bros level right there in the middle. We're talking about $1.50 a day to get access to one of the greatest groups in the world of crypto. Before I move on here and we get into some Q&A and I get your thoughts on some things, Tshroom, let's just take a quick peruse of altcoins, right? A very quick peruse. Ethereum. Were you guys here last week when I told you that Ethereum, if it lost 1,700, the next major spot would be 1,400? Guess where we bottomed out this morning, ladies and gentlemen? Right there in that fixed range volume gap, right? We bounced off 1,400. Does that mean the bottom's in? Obviously, we could go lower, but again, this is something we talked about last week would be the next spot for Ethereum should we bleed and make our way to 74,000. Looks like we hit that one right on the head. XRP, while it lost a rising level of support, there's looks to be a little bit of a falling wedge in pattern here. You can see where we bounced down here towards $1.60, right in line with the trend of where these pullbacks or these bounces have happened on XRP. So with that high volume coming in, volume we haven't seen since back here on February 3rd, it does look like a short-term nice little bottom position there for XRP. I would say, I'm telling you right now, anything below $2 in XRP, probably a solid buy right there. Solana came down, touched its support level here in the falling wedge pattern we told you about. We told you between 95 to $1, that area was very juicy. Sure enough, it's exactly where Solana found itself. Chainlink was my surpriser, right? I did think that Chainlink had the ability to sustain and hold 1170. It didn't. It did come down and touch the support level. I think the next support level down beneath it that I wouldn't be surprised to see is 964. But again, bouncing on some trending support there for Link. ONDO, yeah, we put this line here. We told you 65 cents was going to be very interesting. Looks like we were right on there. Cardano, we came down here. We told you 50 cents would be very interesting for Cardano. We bounced off that support level. Last one here, Sui did not get down all the way to our lowest support. We did say $1.40, $45 would be interesting. So Sui actually held up a little bit better than what we said. Then the last one, AVAX. We told you guys, look for another move back down here towards the 1530. We went a little bit lower, but we bounced on that support level. So as a whole right now, if you're following the technicals, right, follow the news as well. I'm not saying give up on the news. I'm saying if you're following the technicals and you're looking at major support levels, There's not everything's perfect, but a lot of these coins are hitting the levels we told you that were the next significant support levels. Short-term buys on a lot of these coins, we'll talk about it. They're long-term buys over the next couple of weeks. The reality is, you ask me right now, Tim, is the bottom in? I'll be very clear here before I let you go. Is the bottom in? I don't know. And the reality is, nobody does. Nobody knows the bottom is in because there's no clarity on what the future looks like. Like I said, though, the good and the bad news. The bad news is this is all mess started by and caused by chaos in the tariff front. The good news is, as soon as we get clarity there and the mess gets fixed, everything goes right back to pumping to the upside. That's your good and bad news of the day. Tshroom, anything you want to add in there before we engage with chat here for just a couple minutes and then get our factoid of the day? By the way, if you guys enjoyed the show, smash the like button and hit subscribe. We aim to give you guys the best details and content possible so you can make as informed opinions as you can. If you like the channel, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. Tshroom, any closing thoughts from you on any of those details on the charts?
Yeah, look, Tim and I, we sound very cool. We sound very confident. But the reality is, this is a tough time in the market, right? A lot of very, very smart, high-level traders and investors have been blindsided by the events of the last couple of weeks, the tariffs and other things. So don't feel like if you're freaking out that you're wrong or that you're weak or that you're some kind of special case. Everybody is feeling bad right now. There's not very many people who have been on a huge outsized winning side of the trade here, other than people who really only were long bonds, right? So what you want to do here is just kind of seek some practical advice. I have compiled a little bit of practical advice for you all who are maybe a little bit newer to investing. Maybe this is the first 10% pullback you've seen in the S&P since you've been active in financial markets. If you go over to my screen here, Smay, just some practical advice is to take breaks from the screen. Tune into your favorite shows like Investing Bros and whatever else, but take breaks. Don't just be locked into podcasts and live streams and videos all day. You're going to wear out your brain. Your brain needs to process this in the subconscious, and you also need to just take a break from screens in general. Stay hydrated and don't skip lunch. Sometimes it's tempting to sit there and trade through lunch. Don't do that. Your brain needs nutrients, and you need to stay hydrated. You also need to get very good rest as well. Don't stay up late watching or listening to more information. Get good sleep. Also, call your parents and remind them not to sell. Call your friends. Call people who you know are maybe at the beginning of their investing and trading journey, and remind them not to sell the lows. Buy low, sell high, and don't forget why. Now, the last bit here is you are in a storm, right? Be the shelter, not flailing debris. Obviously, when you turn into Investing Bros, you're turning in because you know that we are providing shelter, calm voices, clear understanding, and experience. We've been here before, right? We've seen these types of pullbacks, and we've made decisions that had varying levels of success, right? And we also know people who have done the same. So, that's what just a little bit of practical advice for those of you who may be out there worrying. You're justified in your worry, right? This is a little bit of a crazy time, but it doesn't mean you should sell, and it doesn't mean that panicking is okay. It doesn't mean that you stop eating, doesn't mean you stop sleeping, doesn't mean you stop proper risk management. All of those things are going to be very, very important. You don't throw caution out the window when things get crazy. That's when you lock in, try to identify the bottom, and deploy what capital you have left. You're going to do real well.
Very good. Very good alpha right there, Tshroom. By the way, I said it this morning. I want to remind people, I'm holding strong. Tshroom's holding strong. I have not sold a single Satoshi. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. I told you this morning. Yes, I would love to go back to November. Some of you remember this. Back in November, when we were approaching and getting to 100,000, I said, hey guys, there's probably a high likelihood that Bitcoin's going to want to pull back 30% here. I was called crazy. I didn't sell because I was like, you know what? I'm going to hodl on through it. But in hindsight, I didn't know how right I was. I should have sold, right? I'm not bragging here. I'm telling you guys, I held my crypto all the way down. I'm in the blood just like the rest of you guys are. Here's my personal advice on how I'm going to handle it and how I think you guys should handle it as well. Are your bills covered? Are you paying your mortgage or your rent? Are you putting food on the table? Are you taking care of your children, your wife, your husband, your people that count on you? Can your current income do all of that? If the answer to that question is yes, then I would encourage you, we're down pretty far. Why sell now? Hold on. The bottom will come. Either it is in right now or it'll come soon. Either way, you're going to want to keep that level of that you're holding. Find any excuse on these dips to add to it that you can within reason and hodl on. If your answer to that question was no, though, if you're saying, no, Tim, I have some bills coming up and I can't afford, I don't know what I'm going to do. Go ahead and sell. Even if you have to sell and loss, sell. Learn from the lesson. Don't be done with investing. Come back. Once you square away all your bills and you do everything, come back to the markets. This is the markets. Investing in seasons like this are what are going to make you. This is what's going to make you a millionaire down the road. This is what's going to take care of your children. This is what's going to change your life forever when it comes to generational wealth. That doesn't mean be stupid. That doesn't mean gamble. Take care of the things that are most important in your life, your family, the ones that count on you. Take care of those bills. It's more important that you are here tomorrow thriving than it is that your portfolio is where it was the day before, right? That is what I need you guys to be strapped in here for. If you ever have any questions, let us know over in our free Discord. We're always over there. A lot of great minds in there. If you need some help navigating some stuff, go over there. If you want to go further and learn more about the markets, join some of our membership options like the VIP trading group. You can trade with us live. You can talk to us live. You can get our feedback. We're not perfect. We are not perfect investors, never claimed to be. We never will be. What we are is people who are like-minded like you who want to become better. And we're thinking about the long haul here. We're not just thinking about how much money we make in the next 5, 6, 7 days. If you need help how to think through your investment decisions, we'd love to talk with you over there in the Discord. With that said, breaking news here, and I say it's breaking. I think it's actually technically like 30 minutes old at this point, or 20 minutes old. But coming out of Watchdog Guru, go to my screen really quickly. There was a meeting canceled earlier today. We didn't know why, and I don't know the exact details here. I'm just reading the headline. Just in, Israel agrees to eliminate trade barriers and trade deficit with the United States. Okay, so earlier we heard that they're willing to negotiate. They're willing to do tariffs. The key detail here is eliminate trade barriers and trade deficit. This has been something that Trump has said several times now when it comes to like China and several other countries. He doesn't want to just have zero tariffs. He wants to remove the barriers and have no trade deficit. So Israel looks like they're coming to the table saying, we will give you everything you want. Who else is going to join them in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks? That will be very interesting to see. Like I said, smash that like button. Guys, I am moving this week. You go on my screen here. I'm moving this week, so I'm about to jump right back into the moving grind here. Today is the last. Well, okay, let me start over. Today is my last 3 p.m. live show until Friday, right? I'm going to be literally, as soon as I'm off this camera, I'm going to be tearing things down in this office to pack up. I will be going live tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for some live trading, so come join me over there, but the office might look a little bit different. Then I'm moving, and I'll be back Friday afternoon in my new house, my new location down in Tampa, Florida, but bear with us. What's going to happen is tomorrow there will be a 9 a.m. live trading show. I will talk news. I will talk markets. I'll look at charts. We will not have a 3 p.m. show tomorrow. Why? Because Tshroom is going to be helping me load some stuff up. That being said, he'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday, 3 p.m. live shows. So there will be shows. I just won't be here. I'll be back Friday. So stick around. Come and join in all of our content. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have that notification bell turned on so you don't miss any of the times we do go live. This week is just a little different because of my moving schedule. Monday, right back to it, right? Normal things. We do have some changes coming. We have some big announcements and ways we're going to continue to bring you alpha and really serve our VIP traders in the future. I encourage you to get in that group now so you get all the benefits. But big things coming with the Investing Bros channel, and you guys have been a big part of it. Thank you for supporting us, for coming in every single day, for smashing that like. Go tell your friends. Share this channel with a lot of people, and let's keep going. Let's get to 100,000 by the end of the year with our subscriber count. With that said, I'm going to bring up Smay, some people's favorite. Now, Smay's not feeling great, so everyone reach out. Tell Smay you love him. Tell him you're grateful that he's sticking through the weather and he's coming to give us this factoid of the day to wrap out the show. Smay, what do you have for us here? Oh, wow.
All right, let's jump into the factoid today, brought to you by Decrypted.tax. You can't stop me. Which of these common items was originally invented as wallpaper cleaner? A, Play-Doh, B, WD-40, C, Vaseline, or D, Silly Putty?
Ooh, a silly factoid. I like it. I want to, because Silly Putty and Play-Doh are very similar products. I'm tempted to go with one of those, but could that be the WD 4D
I'm
chess?
leaning towards WD-40, and it's because like even though none of these obviously are used for this, the one that seems like it makes the least sense would be WD-40 because we all know that that's used now to get rid of squeakiness and work with like metal pieces. But like,
Right?
did it accidentally get on the metal, and was it actually made for something completely different? I'm gonna say WD-40B. Smay, that's my final answer.
Alrighty.
Redline says I'm very wrong. He said it's
and-
not
I
WD-40.
think I'm gonna go Play-Doh.
All right.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is Play-Doh.
Here we go, Smay.
That's crazy.
Hey,
And
Tshroom.
also, I am convinced that Tshroom just cheated. So
How?
go ahead and tell us
How?
why you cheated. Because you looked up the answer while we were going. I saw it in the reflection of your glasses.
I am being
Everyone
falsely accused.
Spam in the chat that
Now we
Tshroom
need
is
to
a
know.
cheater.
Hold on, there's been a serious accusation here. What's on Tshroom's screen right now?
I have the Alibaba chart up actually, and not because I want to buy it. Definitely not. I was just looking at my big tech stocks. So no
right.
mention of Play-Doh on that chart.
Listen, shots fired, and for once, Tim is not involved one bit. This is a Smay and Tshroom battle. Let us know in chat. Did Tshroom cheat? Someone zoom in on those spectacles, right? We got to get to the bottom of this. Did Tshroom cheat? Let us know. We'll have to remove one of his wins. All right. That's going to be it, guys.
I didn't cheat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, J Block says Tshroom doesn't cheat. Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap up. Again, back to the grind. Back to the grind.
In my defense, I am too tired to care about that type of a thing. But I am. Yeah. Look, for those of you who doubt me and think that I cheated, I wish that you have the great rest of your day. Just very restful, very peaceful. Love thy enemy, right? And those of you who believe that I didn't cheat, I want you guys to overcome a challenge today because you deserve the gains of wisdom and knowledge. Hopefully that makes sense.
Listen.
I'm not wearing glasses anymore.
I will say a man would reach a whole new low if he's cheating at the factoid of the day. I don't think you cheated. I don't think you cheated, Tshroom. Smay, you did a great job today. Thank you for being with us. Guys, that's going to wrap up the show. I'm going to get back in the grind of packing up. Again, I'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, but after that, I'll see you guys Friday. Hit that subscribe button. Smash that like, guys. See you tomorrow. Adios.